Hi there, I'm the Reverend Danny Crosby, a Unitarian minister serving congregations in Altrincham and in Urmston in the northwest of England. And I offer this devotion as a balm for the heart, for the mind, for the spirit, and for the soul. And it's titled, May the Fourth be with you. May the love that moves the sun and the other stars be with us all. May the fourth be with you and also with you. Now, I'm not being flippant. Please don't misunderstand me here. But may the love that moves and connects all things, the love that moves the sun and the other stars as Dante described it, may that love be with us all. May we recognise that this love is with us in body, mind, heart, spirit and soul. May we recognise that this love is in everyone. May we recognise that this love is in everything. May we live this way, the way of love. And if we do, then we will maybe just begin to build the land of love. And maybe we'll just be able to help begin to bind up the broken. Maybe we can just begin to do that. But today, May the 4th is Star Wars Day. A little play on the phrase, may the force be with you, which is also a play on the phrase, may the Lord be with you, often said in Christian churches. The force, of course, is at the heart of the Star Wars mythos. The original Star Wars, which began actually at episode 4, A New Hope, is almost 50 years old. My mum loves to tell the story of us going to see it upon its release. I was 5 years old that Christmas, 1977. Well, it was released in the UK on December the 27th, actually. She says, I stood up staring at the screen in utter awe, just for 2 hours, just transfixed in awe and wonder, just my mind blown. I did not speak a word. I did not move. My eyes were just fixated. This would have probably been some time in early 1978 when it had reached the local cinemas up north. Now, what's interesting to me is that I don't recall myself standing in awe, staring at the screen. My interesting memory is of my little sister a few years later having a similar reaction when she watched E.T. But I'm told no one else remembers that. It's only something in my memory. They say it was actually a memory of myself and not her. Something that's happened a few times in my life. Memory can be a tricky thing. I wonder if what I actually remember is my own experience. Who knows? Maybe I had some kind of out-of-body experience. Maybe I was looking at myself, looking. Who knows? I have a memory of seeing that, though. And yet, it's not what happened. I'm told it was me and not her. I do know I was utterly enchanted by the film and the next two in the original franchise, the first 3 films. Episodes 4, 5 and 6, bizarrely. My brother was too, but my brother was obsessed with science fiction. The other Star Wars films in the first 3 episodes and the last 3 episodes did not really have that kind of impact on me at all. I know they have on other generations, but not on me. And why was it? What was it that hit me so hard? I don't think it was just the film, although I'm supposed to a small boy it was magical. It was something at the spirit, at the heart of the soul of the film that got to the heart and the soul of me. I felt so powerless as a child, and here was power, a good power as I saw it, that I could be a part of. But the later films, the ones made by perhaps in different ways, did not have the same impact. And science fiction in general, although I liked some of it as a child, it's not something that I'm particularly interested in now. I wouldn't probably go and see science fiction. But something about that original Star Wars and its mythos really got me. Maybe it was the time and the place. Maybe it was the time and the place for myself and the films. Who knows? It was my time to step in that river at that time, and that's what was... It touched something deep in me. That's all I can say. George Lucas, the creator of Star Wars, has said that his aim was to awaken something in young people with this film. In a 1999 interview with Time magazine, he reflected on the Star Wars mythos, stating, "I see Star Wars as taking on the issues that religion represents and trying to distill them down into a more modern and easily accessible construct. I put the Force into the movie in order to try to awaken a certain kind of spirituality in young people, more a belief in God than a belief in any particular religious system. I wanted to make it so that young people could begin to ask questions about the mystery." Well, as a child, it certainly had that impact on me. I recall going to church with my dad's family, probably up to about the age of 11. And I remember being in there, looking around at the images, listening to some of the words said, whilst also playing out the Star Wars mythos, the scenario in my heart and my mind, including the phrase, when I heard it in the church, "May the Lord be with you," which I translated, even at that young age, to "May the Force be with you." Not that I ever discussed this with anyone, not that I ever spoke about it really. Typically me, really. I kept these things to myself. It was like an inner little adventure, really. Now all this began to disappear by the time The Return of the Jedi came out in 1993, and I was beginning to head towards what would be my teenage years. But it's something that would bubble away under the surface, but wasn't really part of my outer life. But it was still alive somewhere deep inside of me, that part of me that I don't discuss or disclose to the world. It was there. Something was going on, even if I wasn't consciously aware of it. You see, George Lucas, in creating Star Wars, wanted to do more than merely entertain people. He wanted to introduce young people like myself to spiritual teachings, to the universal mythos. As he said himself, "I see Star Wars as taking all the issues that religion represents, trying to distill them down into a more modern and accessible construct." He was hugely influenced by the scholar of mythology, Joseph Campbell. Joseph Campbell believed that all cultures impart their values to the next generation through archetypal stories. Campbell believed that organised religion attempted the same, although always struggled to keep up with the times, stating that it must catch up to the moral necessities of the here and now. And of course, that struggle still goes on, I know it well. Joseph Campbell's book, A Hero of a Thousand Faces, is at the heart of the Star Wars mythos. Lucas had written 2 drafts of the story when he rediscovered this book that he had loved at school. It seems that this was the missing piece. In The New Hope, you can see all the various elements of the hero's journey that Campbell described. The awakening, the resistance to leaving home, supernatural help, leaving home, the training period where the young hero becomes strong, the battle with evil, the temptation to become evil, finding out that evil is a part of you when Darth Vader tells Luke, "I am your father." I am your father. I can't say it, can I? The resistance to the new training, the losing of patience with the wisdom, choosing the fight rather than to use the power of the mystery. It's all there. It goes on and it goes on and it goes on. There's more and more there. But you also see the archetypes that Campbell described, that the hero of the journey meets along the way. The father, Darth Vader. The goddess, Leia, Princess Leia. The mentor, Obi-Wan Kenobi. The oracle, Yoda. The trickster, Han Solo, and many more characters. They're all there. Star Wars spoke to so many, as it has continued to do so, as the generations that have followed, we Generation Xers that it was meant for, they've rediscovered it and it's remade in so many different ways. I hope the Force is still there at the heart of it, but even that transforms a little as it tries to cater to the next generation. Now, of course, when I was 5 years old, I didn't know any of this consciously at the time. But Star Wars, or was it the Force at the heart of Star Wars, had its grip on the soul of me, even if I wasn't fully consciously aware at the time. Something was stirring. But the Force was not strong in this little boy, who felt so powerless in the world that he was alive in. But it was awake there, somewhere, even if it was quietly so. Obi-Wan tells Luke the Force is what gives a Jedi his power. It's an energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us and penetrates us. It binds the galaxy together. And I responded to this as so many did. This little boy, as he was then, responded to it as so many have done. Yes, okay, I couldn't lift up an X-Wing out of the swamp of Dagobah, but I did have a sense of something that would protect me, something I would tap into as I wandered about often as a young boy all over the place, feeling safe and protected from the world. There were many times during my teenage years when I would go off all alone, probably younger actually, and yet somehow all alone, but somehow feeling the safest I've ever felt, in like some kind of invisible bubble or shield or something. Some warmth that surrounded me and held me and guided me as I wandered around the towns and the cities of West Yorkshire, alone, not speaking to anybody all day if I could get away with it, seemingly surrounded by this unknown force. Or at least that's what it felt like. A force that had awoken as I stood up and stared at that cinema screen in early 1978. The force had awoken in me. Now, many have claimed religious parallels with Lucas's Force, and it's not surprising. They're obvious to see, aren't we? Many have seen particularly Buddhism and Taoism at the heart of this story. Lucas himself has been called a Buddhist Methodist. Not that he describes himself that way. He claims no particular religion, preferring to describe himself, as so many do, as spiritual. But throughout the saga, you can see that the dark side, what the dark side's really pointing towards, are the dangers of attachment, which is a strong Buddhist concept. Yoda, the Jedi Master, this wise and cryptic creature with a kind of cheeky, impish quality, is clearly based on some kind of Zen Buddhist teacher. You can see them in other films, very much like. And Irvin Kershner, who directed the second film, The Empire Strikes Back, or Episode 5, said of Yoda and of this film, "I want to introduce some Zen here because I don't want the kids to walk away just thinking that everything is a shoot 'em up." There are clearly a great deal of Buddhist teachings and symbolism in Star Wars, and there are parallels with Taoism too. And the Force does seem similar to the Taoist concept of Qi, this subtle stream of energy that animates the world. But I see other parallels too, other religious parallels. I see at the heart of the Star Wars mythos, and maybe that's my culture, but I see it, or I have seen it more and more as I've understood certain things. It seems to chime with my understanding of what may be described as the kingdom of God, or what I call today the kingdom of love, where all are kin in the same domain, held by love. It seems to point towards that this is the aim. This is its purpose. And I see parallels also in a couple of lines from the non-canonical gospel, the Gospel of Thomas, and another saying in the King James translation of the Gospel of Luke, actually. saying 3 in the Gospel of Thomas says about the kingdom. Rather, the kingdom is inside of you and it is outside of you. When you come to know yourselves, then you will become known, and you will realize that it is you who are the sons of the living Father. But if you will not know yourselves, you will dwell in poverty, and it is you who are that poverty. And from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 17, verse 21, the King James translation. Neither shall they say, Lo here, or Lo there, for behold, the kingdom of God is within you. The Force also speaks powerfully to me of my understanding of pan-entheism. Pan-entheism, not to be confused with pantheism, different. At least my understanding anyway. The Force speaks of an essence that is somehow more than life, and yet is present in all of life, drawing us on, but not controlling everything. Some have described this as the law of divine love that never leaves us. We just need to turn to this love, the characteristics of which are both male and female, and yet way beyond the limits of gender, way beyond the limits of time and space and human conceived constraints. When I think of God, I think of a guiding, loving hand that holds, that guides, that sustains and encourages us to be all that we can be. But not only for ourselves, but to build that kingdom of love for all. The Force for me is used to create good, whilst not being seduced by the dark side as it is described. So it means a lot to me, but there are aspects that I struggle with. It's not perfect. There are things that really trouble me. Like the phrase itself, the Force. There are things about it that trouble me. There are elements of the mythos that trouble me. I will not be putting Jedi as my religion at the next census. I am not a Jedi. I'm really not. That should be obvious. And the problems with it, and for that matter, some problems about contemporary spirituality as well as old style religion, actually, is somewhere in this language of like power and force. They're often understood as having something over, lording over people, of places and things. And there's something in that that's always troubled me, and more so today, actually. People want power, want to be powerful, and I think really it's about surrender, as I understand it, about humility. And the Force really needs to be understood as a loving thing. At its heart, it must be about love. Certainly that's how I see that, the kingdom that I wish for. And it can't be about separating people. It has to be universal. And another issue I have with the Star Wars mythos is the idea that the Force is strong in some and weak in others, like some are special and others are not. You could translate that, and maybe that's what I do, as having faith that the faith or the Force can be strong and weak. But it can also be the opposite. It can harm and it can destroy. It's not just about creating. It's important to recognise the darkness in life always. Something that's in everything too, in every one of us actually. Something akin to what Carl Jung described as the shadow. Yeah, the shadow sounds very much like the dark side of the Force. I'm sure it's based on those ideas. Campbell was an aficionado of Carl Jung. And of course, the mythos is based on Campbell's teachings. So yeah, the shadow that Jung talked about it must be the dark side of the Force. It is, clearly. But there's something in the power, if that's the right word, that's humble and we surrender to the power really in order for it to be alive in us. It's not about lording over. The spiritual paths that speak to me often appear countercultural really. They are not about force and power in that traditional sense. They're actually more about disarming violence. They are for building things, but not walls. They're about building bridges, the things that against what separates us. They are about disarming the forces of destruction and the forces of chaos. They're about connection, not separation. Yes, it is about defeating or overcoming darkness, but in so doing not becoming the very thing that is causing the destruction, or even worse, as human history can point to, really. But at its heart, the essence of the Star Wars mythos, the Force, what's that really about, is what appeals to me. That love that moves everything, that touches everything. Or at least that's what this 53-year-old man believes today. Just like that 5-year-old boy who stood in awe, believed it was touched in the same way too. This beautiful, gentle, this incredible force. And I remember as a little boy, it was this that really spoke to me. This is what was at the heart of what that little boy, walking around feeling powerless in a world that utterly bewildered him, felt, that still bewilders him, by the way. And that feeling's never left me, really, although I have lost sight of it at times. And I believe it's open to us all. It is a beautiful and it's a precious thing, and it needs to be deeply cared for and nurtured, held lovingly. So, may the Fourth be with you. May the Force be with you. May that the love that moves and connects all things, the love that moves the sun and the other stars as Dante described it, may that love be with us all. May we recognise that this love is with us in mind and body and heart and spirit and soul. May we recognise that this love is in everyone, even if it seems hidden, so deeply hidden. May we recognise that this love is in everything. And may we live this way, the way of love. And if we do, then we may well just begin to build the land that will bind up the broken. May the Force be with you. I'm going to end with some final words of blessing. We need to bless more, and we can all bless. And we bless when we give ourselves wholeheartedly to life. So may the Eternal bless you and protect you. May the Eternal smile on you and favour you. May the Eternal befriend you and prosper you. And may we carry the song of the Eternal with us, and may we do so in all that we feel, in all that we think, in all that we say, in all that we do. May the Force be with you. Amen.